Today I get to speak to you about a topic that I am particularly passionate about, imagination. I am lucky in that I get to work every day with people I consider to be experts on imagination, kindergartners. So I thought I might begin preparing for today's talk by asking their thoughts on the subject, and here is some of what they had to say. You can be whoever you want to be, and you can do whatever you want to do. Everyone has imagination, and you can do things that aren't real. Imagination follows you wherever you go. You can think of something and dream of it. So, since they've pretty much summed it up, I think I'll stop there and leave you to think about that. Just kidding. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 things that our imaginations help us do. Number 1, using our imagination can help us build our sense of empathy and understanding of others. This is a picture of me when I was a little girl. My parents had an old VHS tape with a bunch of children's cartoons on it. One of these was The Ugly Duckling. As you can see from the expression on my face, I would watch this cartoon and I would just bawl when the other ducklings left out the ugly duckling and she was all alone. My dad would try to comfort me, and eventually all would be well again when she, spoiler alert, found out she was really a swan and found her community that welcomed her. This happened every time we watched this tape. We'd get to the Ugly Duckling cartoon, and my parents would say, "Sweetheart, are you sure you want to watch this again?" But I did. And I would cry my eyes out again. See, different outfit. This happened lots of times. My parents obviously also documented things like I do. Even though I knew how it ended, my parents tell the story that I got so immersed in the experience of that little swan that I just felt that little swan's sadness so much that I would cry as though it was happening to me. And also, at the end, join in the feeling of relief and happiness of the little swan. As one of our 5th graders mentioned recently in her Gather talk, acting in a play can have a similar effect. When I was young, I did a lot of musical theater, and whether I was becoming an orphan, a man made out of tin, or one of Cinderella's mean stepsisters, I had to work with the directors to try to understand why and how these characters said what they said or did what they did. Being in a performance and playing a character, whether in one of our after-school productions or in the 3rd grade civil rights monologues, for example, you use your imagination to help you take someone else's perspective and understand their feelings. Sorry. We can do this through reading, too. Anytime we use our imagination to really immerse ourselves in the stories of others, we step outside of ourselves and our own experiences, which can help strengthen our sense of empathy. Number 2. Our imaginations help us dream up and create things that do not yet exist. I see this all the time in my classroom. Children use open-ended materials to design, build, and create amazing structures and inventions, all from their imaginations. Just yesterday, I noted an innovative landing pad built out of bristle blocks, an airplane sewn using needle and thread and cloth, a kitty puppet, and a spaceship that can fly anywhere, just to name a few. One second. Thanks. Now, think of all the inventions in the world. They all began as an idea in someone's imagination. There are bigger inventions and smaller inventions. Now, here in the heart of Silicon Valley, you're probably all curious what sort of super high-tech, amazing gadget I'm going to share about to help me illustrate this point. And here it is. The Chuck-It. That's right, the Chuck-It. It's okay, you can laugh because I certainly laughed the first time I saw this. Now let me go back just a little bit to provide some context. Yeah, it's okay, it's a funny invention. Some of you might own this at home. Yeah, that's totally okay. Popular invention, as you can see. This summer after I graduated high school, I got a summer job as a professional pet sitter with a company called Pet Pals. I would go in early in the morning, gather up my supplies and schedule for the day, and drive around my hometown of Davis to take care of all kinds of pets. The first time I saw the Chuck-It at a client's home, I seriously did laugh out loud and maybe do an internal eye roll. Really? We can't throw balls for our dogs anymore? That is, until I actually tried it, and I realized it was helpful for two main reasons. One, it actually did help me throw the ball farther for the dog to run and get it while exerting less effort. And two, I didn't actually have to pick up the ball when the dog returned it. I like to think that the inventor of the Chuck-It probably sat there one day, imagining a world where their hand didn't have to be coated in dog slobber. And from their imagination came this idea. Now here's what I find particularly great about this. I may have totally laughed at this invention when I first saw it, and I certainly don't think I ever would have thought about it on my own. But the thing is that none of our imaginations are quite the same, and that we all have the capacity in our imaginations to dream up new and different ideas, big and small, for our world. Number 3. Imagination helps us solve problems by seeing what's in front of us in new ways. Another time when I was working for Pet Pals, it was a really hot day, and the car I was driving did not have air conditioning, so I had rolled down the windows just a little. There was this one client's house that was all the way on the other side of town, far away from any of the other homes or pets I was visiting that day. I got out of the car, locking it behind me, and started walking up the path to the family's home when I suddenly realized I didn't have the car keys in my hands like usual. I walked back to the passenger side of the car, looked in, and saw them, staring right at me from where I'd left them in the ignition. This was back in a time when this could happen more. Now someone has imagined and invented cars that don't let you lock your keys in. I imagined the look on my boss's face if I had to call her and have her drive all the way out here to unlock the car for me. I imagined all the other pets we were supposed to be visiting waiting for us because I had caused such a delay. It wasn't something I was excited about. So I started to use my imagination in a different way. Remember when I told you the windows were slightly rolled down? Well, there was no way my normal arm was going to fit through that opening and all the way over to the steering wheel to get my keys out. I imagined I could turn into Inspector Gadget with his Go-Go Gadget extendable arms and reach all the way in and grab the keys. But that kind of imagination could only take me so far. Instead, I went about taking care of the pets, and as I did, I started looking around at what items I could find that might help me. In the end, I found a yardstick, a hanger, and some tape. I was able to bend the hanger and use the tape to affix it to the yardstick to create a long hook, almost like an extended arm. And then I went out to the car to try my new invention. It took a couple of tries, but luckily I finagled that hook contraption all the way across the passenger seat, hooked the keys onto the hanger, and pulled them back through the window to me, and was able to unlock the door. I was so relieved and actually pretty proud of myself, and I never did have to call my boss to rescue me. I'll conclude by sharing one last thought from one of my kindergartners. Imagination makes you happy. So, whether you are taking on someone else's perspective, dreaming up things that don't yet exist, or looking at things in a new way to solve a problem, I hope you find lots of opportunities to use your imagination in ways that make you happy today and every day.